I'm Shirley Washington. First on Fox, dozens of people are indicted in southern Illinois, accused of participating in a drug pipeline for the cartel.
All new at 6, Fox 2's Chad Mira joins us with what he's learned. And Chad, this is a major case that even has the U.S. Attorney General weighing in.
Absolutely, and prosecutors say this involves some very high-ranking members of the Sinaloa Cartel who are working to get hundreds upon hundreds of pounds of drugs into the region. 800 pounds of fentanyl, 150 pounds of meth, and 100 pounds of cocaine, all off the street.
Podium, the language is cold and final. 4:47 a.m. Synchronized strike teams. A border corridor operation spanning Arizona desert cut-throughs, Southern California stash hubs, and key nodes in Sinaloa and Sonora. 200 tons of fentanyl interdicted in the fiction, $15 billion in assets flagged and frozen, and multiple high-value Chapitos operators taken alive. A takedown described as the deepest cartel infiltration ever mapped on U.S. soil. And the warning is simple. What they found under the first door is nothing compared to what was buried behind the second. 4:32 a.m., Yuma County, Arizona. Wind dragging sand across blacktop. Highway lamps flickering like tired eyes. Unmarked trucks idling behind a dead irrigation depot, while FBI, DEA, ICE, and SWAT stack in silence. Rifles low, breathing slow, moving in that coordinated way that feels less like policing and more like a military drill. The green light hits and the corridor ignites at once. Nogales, San Diego County, Calexico. Doors blown, locks snapped, flashbangs blooming white, agents in black. Flowing through rooms that smell of acetone and burnt metal. Suspects sprinting with duffel bags that thud like bricks. A single panic shot answered by disciplined return fire. And the seizures start rolling in like a storm report. Pallets of fentanyl pills, sealed sacks of powder, methamphetamine bricks wrapped in grease paper, cocaine bales marked with clean little stamps, and cash bundled so tight the straps cut into the paper. The first twist arrives quiet, not loud. A steel case bolted beneath an office floor in a legit logistics warehouse. Clamps torqued down like someone expected a bomb. And inside sits a military-grade encrypted handset. Too expensive, too protected, too official to belong to street crews. Its boot screen flashing one word, Auburn, while on a different rate a ledger is pulled from behind a refrigeration wall listing shipping codes that match real American freight lanes. And suddenly the whole night changes shape from drug bust to conspiracy. 6:18 a.m. Inside the FBI Cyber Forensics Lab in Phoenix. The air is recycled and dry. Analysts running caffeine and code. Fingers dancing across keyboards as they crack the handset using a mirrored key file recovered from a server rack in Chula Vista. The encryption buckles, a network map blooms on a wall display, and the operation name locks into place. Operation Iron Veil, a blueprint of shell companies, ghost corporations, sham charities, fake nonprofit foundations, restaurant chains, logistics firms, and green infrastructure grants stitched into one hidden supply chain that rides on top of legitimate commerce like a parasite on an artery. Money hopping borders through layered transfers, offshore accounts, and clean invoices until it looks like nothing at all. And then the villain fingerprint appears again and again. An encrypted authorization key tied to a fictional northern Mexican governor, Esteban Rojas. Not bribed, but directing. Not corrupted, but commanding, issuing. Logistics clearances, timing enforcement, maintenance closures, and engineering blind spots, as if the state itself were a drug fortress built from paperwork. Beside him sits the second brain of the machine, the cartel logistics commander Takedown, El Ingeniero Marine, a systems builder who doesn't need to hold a gun because he holds the routes, the schedules, the manifests, the way station outages, and the border lane staffing patterns. The analysts stare at it and understand the sentence nobody wants to say out loud. This is not corruption. It is command-level collusion, not negligence, engineered treason. And then a folder opens with a name that turns the room colder. The permanent corridor, meaning they weren't planning a rush, they were planning a future. 4:59 a.m., dawn at the Joint Command Center in Yuma. Folding tables, glowing laptops, exhausted faces, and a massive digital map pulsing with red markers across Tucson. Yuma, the Phoenix outskirts, San Diego, Riverside, El Centro, and south of the line across Sinaloa and Sonora. The brief is blunt: 1,200 federal agents, dozens of SWAT teams, airborne surveillance, helicopters for insertions, armored units staged for perimeter control, U.S. Navy assets positioned offshore for signal and interdiction support. Overkill not for drama, but for containment, because if even one node stays dark, the whole network reroutes and survives. The second phase hits like a hammer across multiple locations in fast succession. A solar equipment yard in the Arizona desert that hides chemical precursors and pill mold beneath real panels. A hillside wellness retreat in Southern California that turns out to be a stash hub with rifles, radios, and hard drives headed for a pool until a DEA agent dives and fully dressed to save them. And a railside warehouse in Sonora where intermodal containers hold feed sacks up front and thick. Behind them, each package stamped with a tiny crown. At a closed for renovation way station, agents pry open a maintenance hatch and descend into a tunnel that isn't crude but engineered. Ventilation, power, stage uniforms, radio repeaters, pallets stacked to the ceiling, painted on the wall in black letters like a threat. Albra lives, and the seizure count climbs until it feels unreal even to the people holding it. By midday, the Chapitos operators in this fiction, two brothers, Nicolas Nico Guzman and Javier Javo Guzman, are pulled from a safe house north of Culiacan after comms intercepts point directly to the door. They don't go out in a blaze. They go out stunned because they believe Governor Rojas would keep the sky closed above them. And in that moment, the underworld takes more damage in 6 hours than it has taken in 6 years. The next layer is quieter and more personal. Seized servers, transaction logs, patrol grids, internal emails, and scheduling data expose how deeply the cartel built a parallel enforcement system, with officers, coordinators, and paper pushers paid monthly to move patrols away from convoy routes, to understaff lanes on key nights, to delay warrants, to leak raid drafts, to label evidence lost, and to time border relaxations like clockwork. Honest cops stare at station numbers tagged as controlled, some swallowing rage, some breaking, one sheriff in this fiction asking if deputies died because someone sold their grid and hearing the answer that lands like a punch. Yes, arrests follow inside the system. Senior sergeants, deputy chiefs, planners, a fictional judge Pilar send sealing motions for clerical delay, while shipments vanished and the investigators realize it wasn't infiltration like rot. It was architecture like design, a second police force without uniforms, controlled by the governor's key and the engineer's blueprint. And the only promise left is that the badge will be rebuilt from the ground up after it is stripped clean. When the camera of the mind pulls back, the corridor is only the throat and the body is national. Trucking contractors with clean DOT numbers, agricultural routes that move fast, manifests altered, way stations shut for maintenance at the exact hours convoys pass. Fake grants funding remote warehouses, port storage accounts used as lungs, migrant smuggling corridors used as noise to hide narcotics. And the final file inside. The permanent corridor spells the catastrophic ambition, not just to move poison, but to normalize the theater of enforcement while the cartel future runs uninterrupted under it. A shadow government built to outlast elections and outlast fear. That is the chilling realization. This system was redesigned for cartel permanence, not merely infiltrated for profit. In the closing hours, the architects fall. Governor Esteban Rojas is taken at a private airstrip trying to flee under a shell company tail number. And Tadeo El Ingeniero Marine is found in a logistics command site surrounded by route maps and radio codes, smiling like a man who still believes blueprints are immortal, until handcuffs remind him they are not, and the story ends where it must end, on the cost. Fentanyl pills turning bedrooms into crime scenes, meth flooding towns, cocaine draining, neighborhoods, families broken by silence and ambition. Because power doesn't always need open violence. Sometimes it only needs people who look away, and this fictional dramatization is a warning about political infiltration and organized crime. So if you're still listening, tap like so more people see it. Comment expose if you want these shadows dragged into the light.